Hi, everybody. Welcome to part 4 of our webinar series with Karen. We're excited that you're here today, that you're joining us. Hope you are doing well. I am going to keep this even shorter today to give Karen even more time. I'm Mike Murata. I'm the director of the Assistive Technology Advocacy Center. And there's all our contact info if you want to reach out. And also, if you have ideas for future webinars, I'm going to say it now because I know Karen and I never get to that slide at the end. But if you have ideas about topics for future webinars, put them in the chat while you're here today, and I'll write them all down because we're looking to continue our schedule through May and into June. So thanks again for being here, and Karen, I leave it to you.
Okay, so I hit exit on that little toolbar and it took us right out of the presentation.
Now you're back.
I just wanted to move it out of the way and it wouldn't move. But anyway, I'm Karen Janowski. So excited that you're joining us today. This is one of my favorite topics about how we can reach reluctant, struggling learners using innovative strategies. And so I'm going to provide a framework and some guiding principles, as well as really focus in especially on 5 particular tools. And I know that there are many more to choose from, but maybe these are some new ones that you haven't ever explored yet. The bit.ly to follow along or to actually save for later reference, because I do embed a lot of links in my presentations. So it's bit.ly/writing 417, which is the date, and it is case sensitive. And so I think Mike will also, if you come a little later, or if feel free to ask in the chat again. So we love the chat. It's the opportunity for you to add comments, your own ideas, your strategies. I have to say, I've attended a few webinars where the chat wasn't available, and it was incredibly frustrating for me because I love to ask questions to the whole group. I love to bounce ideas off the whole group. And so feel free to add your ideas here. Also post what you do and where you're from so we can learn a little bit about you as well. So, I did skip right by my slide. I am Karen Janowski. I'm out of the greater Boston area. We do assistive and educational technology and augmentative communication consulting in the greater Boston area. And this is one of my passions. So when we think about writing, there's so much juggling that's involved. And here are a lot of the skills that you have to think about. And this was a slide I showed in part 3 as well. And this slide is an important slide too, to understand all of the writing components, because we do have to consider, especially for our struggling writers, we have to really think about those emotional factors and the cognitive factors. Can they attend? How is their stamina? Are they even motivated? Are we giving them the just right challenge? So again, this is a slide that you can come back to study a little bit more if you feel the need. There are also a number of different writing genres: narrative, persuasive, expository, and descriptive. So when we think about all that and all that is involved in our students being able to compose text successfully, get pencil to paper, get ideas into whatever written product they're using, whether it's typing, whether it's voice typing, whether it's printing with paper and pencil, so many underlying skills need to be intact. And we want to remove the barriers to some of those. But let's look for a minute to see who are our struggling writers and what are their struggles. And I'm sure some of these definitely relate to the skills that you've identified as well. She's got great ideas, just can't get them down on paper. And how about those spelling skills? I've actually, when I've evaluated students, completed some assistive technology evals, I've asked them the point blank question, do you ever choose words that are a little simpler for you to spell because the other ones are harder? And they do admit that. So again, spelling skills do impede the student's ability of being able to show what they know cognitively. So there's a discrepancy sometimes. So we want to make that a little bit easier. How about those students that can't read their own writing? I mean, that's a struggle. How about the kids who have meltdowns every time they have to write? That's a very common reason for a referral for an assistive tech eval, is the kids who have meltdowns every time they write. And oftentimes what the schools will do is they will assign a paraprofessional And I'm sure you've seen what the long-term results of that are. The kids learn, oh yeah, I can dictate to my own personal secretary. They don't learn how to write. They don't learn how to compose text. They don't know what a complete sentence is. I'll never forget a student that I was asked to evaluate who was a senior in high school. And she had always been given a paraprofessional support. So she would dictate for her written product, and the paraprofessional also would read her all of her material. And they suddenly realized, she can't even compose a sentence. So we don't want to breed dependence. We want to promote independence and success, and stay away from the idea of giving instructional assistant support as a method that helps these struggling writers. Let's try some other ideas instead. And this is often what parents hear at the IEP meeting. Some of us might have even said some of these things, hopefully not. I did hear some of these things described about my son when he was in school. He just needs to try harder. One of the other things is, he's just a little young. That's what I was told in first grade. He's just a little young and immature, but he just needs to try harder. He's not motivated. He's just lazy. So what we want to do is reframe those IEP conversations, right? Anyone else have something else that they've heard in an IEP meeting that makes them cringe? Oh, that's a good one, Makai. Great to have you here today. It'll click one day. That's a good one. So this is something that Seth Godin has said, and I think it's a perfect time to add this particular quote. The usual mantra is to try harder, but trying harder is impossible when you're already trying as hard as you can. Our kids are just overwhelmed. So the perception of difficulty does impede success. So what can we do? We want to break that cycle. And here are some guiding principles that I consider when I think about some of the innovative resources that can help bypass some of these challenges. So love Paula Cluth. If any of you know the work of Paula Cluth, she does a lot of work with students who are on the autism spectrum. Jackie, you must know her. She has written a great book. It's probably at least 10 or 15 years old by now, and it's called Just Give Him the Whale. And she recommends that you start the writing process with writing about areas of interest and fascinations and strengths. So often when we're working with kids on the spectrum, we say, oh, that they are perseverative, or they are obsessed, or, and again, let's reframe that conversation to giving him the whale. If that's what they're interested in, let them write about whales. If they're interested in trains, let them write about trains. So it's all about focusing on their areas of interest, strengths, and fascinations. And by doing that, we are reducing the cognitive load, which is so important to do. Because a blank sheet of paper, what do you think? Getting started is really hard for a lot of kids. So let's not give them, especially our struggling writers, let's not give them that blank piece of paper. It's too overwhelming. So some of the things that we can do, and one of the guiding principles is to ensure that we are providing choices. Does writing have to be paper or typing? Can it also be recording your voice? Can it also be voice typing? These are other ways to get started and to get over that initial difficulty of actually composing text. Let's use one of the skills that a student might have, which oftentimes our kids have great oral language skills, and let's take advantage of that capability as well, instead of focusing only on the challenges that they have. So another really crucial idea is make it engaging. And one of the things that I've been hearing a lot through online conversations, through remote learning, is students it's just not engaging. It's just not fun. They're given paper worksheets that the parents have to print out, or they're just giving digital worksheets. And I want people to think, if you were a student in your class with the assignments that you're giving, would you want to do them? So think about making it engaging. So one of the starting places that can often help students just to get started is Wacky Web Tales. And if you are familiar with Mad Libs, this is a digital version of Mad Libs. So all students have to do is add single words. So every slide takes you directly to that website. So I will just quickly show you how Wacky Web Tales works. And one of the things that's really nice about it too is, look at this. So we have, I'm going to move the group chat. Look at all these choices that students can explore. And one of the things that I often find some of my younger boys will choose is the burp one. So if we go to burp, just as an example, so now all we have to do is add in single, made up name, an animal, singular adjective. And the other thing that's really nice at the bottom is if you need parts of speech help, if the student isn't sure of what an adjective or a verb is. So they fill this out, fill in all the blanks, and then immediately see your Wacky Web Tale. So that's one way just to get kids initially into thinking about, hey, I can do this. It's not a blank piece of paper. It's really fun. Is anybody using that as an option? If you're using any of these tools, or if you have a better tool, please add it in the chat, because we are all learning from each other. Right Reader. Okay, Right Reader is awesome, especially for our very young kids. And it's based on research. And so what it is, so why Right Reader? What it is, it's a book creation tool or a narrative tool. And they do say it is scientifically based. The way that it works is your student would get started with writing, and they would write using however they are, whatever stage of writing they are at, even if it's the initial consonant sound, or even if it's phonetic spelling, whatever it is. And then underneath what the student has written, you're building in their support, but you're showing them what the actual model would be. You're not correcting them, you're validating what they're writing. And it is a way to support them at the developmental level that they are at. And so it's just getting them started. On the slides here, there is also, I thought I included a tutorial, but here you can always go to, here's some lesson plans, research reports, which is also really important to you. You want to know, what does the research say? So here are some lesson plans that they've already created for you. And a little bit of so you can bring in images, they have their own, you can bring in your own. And here's the child's writing, which would be here. It doesn't show you underneath is where the adult writing that would show the actual correct spelling. So there's a lot of different options. So check that one out for some of your younger students, just to get them started, no matter what level of independent spelling output that they are at. Consider Right Reader. Another one, I can't recommend Seesaw enough. And the reason I love Seesaw is because of all of these choices that are built into it. The ability to take pictures, to draw on it, to add video, to upload anything on your computer or Chromebook, to take notes. And it also is great for homeschool communication. So I am going to, here's some getting started guides, some links to getting started. I'm just going to go back here and it'll take us right to Seesaw. I think I've mentioned Seesaw in at least one of these sessions. And if you are using it, please share how you are using it in the chat. So when we get the initial opening screen, we can log in as a family member, as a student, or as a teacher, and I've already logged in. So what I want you to see is, again, why reinvent the wheel? With Right Reader, it showed you lesson plans. With Seesaw, it shows us what other teachers have done. And so we can pull up the activity library, and it always defaults to your library. So what I'm going to do is click on the community library and see what other teachers have done, so that I'm not reinventing the wheel. And I can pull up we want to go into English language learner, English language arts, and maybe see some. So here's something. This defaults to 5th grade because when I first logged in, I said that I was a 5th grade teacher, but for those of you who are new to it, this is an important thing to see. You can cover all grades, and it does include activities from pre-K all the way up to grade 12. So here would be a very easy activity, describe yourself. So I'm going to pull this up. This would be a great starting activity for some of our reluctant writers. So just add some ideas, some things, some statements about yourself, some adjectives, some descriptive words, and that could be something that you would then assign. And again, start by where the student's comfort level is and confidence level is, and reduce the cognitive load. So very often this might be a very great starting point for some of our students. One of the beauties too of Seesaw is here are the directions that the student would read, but some of our students who are struggling writers also happen to be struggling readers. They're still developing their reading skills. So teachers can embed audio instructions. So again, in this time of remote learning, we don't want our students to have to run and get, Mom, I can't read the directions. What do I need to do? The directions are recorded right here. So this is an example of one type of activity that could be assigned that can circumvent the writing struggles and help build our students' confidence in their ability to independently compose text. That's just one example. There are probably many. Somebody wanted, so here's storytelling with drawings, again, nonfiction text features, lots of different things, main idea. So here's a graphic organizer that's built in. And again, the beauty of this is, yes, you can insert text, but you can also record your voice in response to this too. So again, it helps our students get over the difficulty and the challenge. All right, Mike, if there's anything in the chat, just let me know, because I'm trying to just focus more on the slides themselves. So one of the things, here's your getting started guides. I also have added some links to helpful resources. So here's a whole idea. This link will take you to remote learning with Seesaw. Here's some training in PD. Here's a playlist of short Seesaw tutorials. Let me just show you this. And while it's loading in. So this is really helpful if you're brand new to Seesaw. So these are all short videos, how to invite your families, how to post to the class journal, how to get started, connect with families, student sign in. So, you know, there are 29 videos just to get you started and creating a new activity, because maybe you want to create your own activity. So save that link if this is something that you would like to explore. So Sarah asks if these are free. All of this that I have shown you is free. The premium version has some additional features, but you really don't need those. So all of these activities that I've shown you, this entire community library here is completely free, what other teachers have created. One of the things that I do like to look at, because we don't have to just be limited to writing, but this is a feature that I want you to see. This trending searches and popular this week. So oftentimes it has to do with the season, the holiday that's coming up, that sort of thing. So just as an example, here's an activity that has already been uploaded by 28 and favorited by 2,800 teachers. There are some activities, if you go into just general, that have been uploaded 20,000 times. So don't reinvent the wheel. This is a resource that is readily available to you. Any questions about Seesaw? Any thoughts about it if you're using it? Oh, so Makai, you said your second grader who is capable of writing chooses to dictate his answers to Seesaw every day. And isn't it about choice anyway? Yes, and yep, you can make comments and send work back. So the other thing too is, in this time, privacy is really important, and Seesaw is one of those organizations that has signed It is FERPA and COPA compliant, and they have signed the privacy pledge. Book Creator, again, another resource that I always recommend, and it's for reading as well as writing. And if we think about our reading supports, it's a really easy way to create ebooks in your classroom. So if we click on the Book Creator link, and again, Book Creator is free for teachers. You can create up to 40 books. So every one of your students could have their own book. It also has, they've added some additional support right now. Collaboration is part of the premium feature of Book Creator, but they have added in the ability to collaborate during this time of the remote learning, so that teachers can collaborate with their students can collaborate with each other. So that's a really nice thing. It's built in right now. So one of the things to know about this is, just to get started, what do? I love that it has a very simple user interface. So we get started by clicking a new book, and it gives us options of a comic style or just a regular book. And if you start with the comic style, even though you don't choose it to be a comic book, the advantage of starting with the comic style book is under this plus sign, you get these stickers and varieties of text that you don't get with that when you just start on the regular book. So look at all the things that you can do. You can bring in a picture from your photo library, from online. You can take a picture, you can draw, you can add text, and you can record your voice. And one of the things to know about when you add text, see this microphone right here? Whoops, I said done without using, let's try that again. So it does include speech recognition. So I love to show this feature because this is one of the ways that we can help students getting started with overcoming their writing barriers. It's an awesome tool, period. So now it's added in, but we aren't limited to just this text. If we go to the informational icon, they call it the inspector. Now we can adjust the font size, we can adjust the font, we can adjust the color. We can also change the background within it. That's within the text box itself. Let me just show you if I'm on the page and now I hit the inspector. Look at all my options. Think about your students. If you give them a blank piece of paper, how motivating is that? But if you give them the opportunity to choose one of these backgrounds, how much more exciting is it right from the start? So just something else to think about. There's a lot more options in Book Creator. And again, I've got some resources there that you can explore. And again, let's turn on closed captioning because I'm noticing it turned off again. So with remote learning, here's some resources, getting started with Book Creator. One of the things too to know about with resources is look at all these options that you have. I'll wait for it to load in. Again, why reinvent the wheel? Don't. So they've got tons of ideas under English language arts. They've got tons of ideas by grade level. They also have, waiting for it to log in, they also have these ideas. Here's the Big Book Creator book. And here's one by Rosie McQuillan on differentiated learning. So how we can adapt it for our students who are on IEPs and 504s. So great resource. The privacy policy, and then here's a link to the free collaboration upgrade. Storyboard that. This will be the last one that I'm focusing in on today. And again, there are many others, but Storyboard that is an awesome tool. And this link here takes you to some tutorials. Is anyone using Storyboard that? Let's see. Does Book Creator use Google one-click sign-on? Yes, you can import your students through Google Classroom. So Storyboard that, again, it's pricing, but you can create individual storyboards. And so here is, oh, they have a specialized edition right now with lesson plans. It is, look at this, it is COPA, FERPA compliant. They do give you a free trial that allows you to make multiple storyboards, but what I want you to see is, if we want to just get started, create a storyboard. This is such a powerful tool. Yeah, only 3 a month. That is true. So create your own storyboard. So let me just show you why limit yourself to the basic version. You can get to look into the premium plan for your students. But if they're all individually making their own, they typically won't make more than 3 a month anyway, depending on it. I'm going to start a new board. So here are all my background scenes. I can look at all my choices here. I've got town, entertainment, home. Let's go outdoors and look at some of those outdoor scenes. And maybe I want to pull up, oh, I'm out in my neighborhood. So I'm pulling in a background scene, so I can change I can edit the scene, I can change the color, the time of day. So let's make it night, but we can make it snowy, and we'll update it. Now, then this is the power. We can add our characters, all kinds of characters, adults, teens, kids. So we'll bring in some kids who are outside making snow. We'll bring in, I want to bring in this particular, here we'll bring in this child, and we can now edit his pose. And here is, this can also be useful for teaching reading facial expressions. And what does this one show? We can also change the what they're wearing, their pose. They can be preset poses. Look at this. We can even, maybe he's upset outside because he can't really play out in the snow today, or because he's whatever. But there's so many options to think about. And we'll update his pose. He's sad, he's missing his friends. This is not the time to be alone playing in the snow. So again, then you can add thought bubbles and speech bubbles, and you can add shapes. And there's lots of different different icons that you can add within that. It's a very powerful tool. So again, this link will take you to a list of tutorials that can help you understand how to use Storyboard That. And at this point, it's already 12:28. Boy, 30 minutes passes so quickly. If there are any questions or any other ideas, what if you want more than 40 because of the amount of students you have? Can you pay a subscription for more? Absolutely, yes. And oftentimes, you can get this through your PTOs or your building principal, or it can be built into your budget for the year. So, yep, Sarah, great. Voki is another one that you can use. And you can add those Vokis into a book creator as an option as well. Any other thoughts? So the other thing too, because going back to that book creator question, because book creator is now allowing collaboration, you may, as a teacher, send out a book that you want to give every student one page to respond to. And that's another option, so that you're hearing from all of your students and they're adding it and making it personal for them. And they can use the audio recording feature, they can use the speech recognition feature, or they can be typing. Lots of options. So, and then Mike always wants to know if there are other webinar topics you want his organization to cover. Put them in the chat. Let Mike know, and you can just email him. The other thing we want you to know about is every Wednesday night, Mike and I host AT Chat. I know some of you are able to join us. It is 8 p.m. Eastern time. There's also an awesome website that some other, like Alyssa has created, Alyssa Warren. It's at atchat.info. It's an awesome website that has all of our Wakelets, all of our chats. It's got a lot of excellent resources. And then, thank you so much for participating today. One of the things, so I do see a question from Roz, one of the struggles with some of these supports it's challenging to keep students moving forward to the writing, then opt to change and modify over and over. How do you manage these types of students? So, good question. So to me, one of the big things is you want to get them over the roadblock of how to begin and making them deep. We don't want them to be dependent on adults, because that's very often what is happening. So if we can use, it depends. What is it we want our students to be able to do? We want them to expand the quality of their writing. So use their fascinations. We want them to demonstrate their understanding of sentence and paragraph and organization of idea. Sentence and paragraph structure, organization of ideas, their spelling and vocabulary skills. So start using with these tools and then develop it into maybe embedding what they've done into a Google Doc and allow them to use the voice recording feature, or if they have the premium version of Read and Write and they want to overcome some spelling issues, they could use the word prediction feature. So you could use some of the word prediction tools to help with that. And Michelle talks about they struggle the most with spelling. So with one of the things that when we think about with spelling is, how can we bypass that challenge? We want students to use the vocabulary that reflects their cognitive abilities. And so to me, there are a few different ways to do that. And if you're in Google Docs, or your students are older than 13, they can use the Grammarly Chrome extension. Grammarly helps them identify their spelling challenges. Also in Google Docs, it has an intelligent spell checking feature. So it looks at the context of the sentence and it does help them, very often gives them one choice, did you mean this? And if the spelling choice is not the one that they want, I always tell students, you're missing one of the sounds within the word. So say that word out loud to yourself and see if you can figure out which sound you were missing and try it again. The other thing, of course, is you can always use speech recognition. And so when you use voice typing, which is embedded into Google Docs or is also in Book Creator, they never misspell a word. And then the student has the opportunity to see what the correct spelling is. Michelle, do you have any other things that you are trying, any other strategies? I know that we're going over, so if you do need to leave, thank you so much for joining us today. But if you have additional questions, I'd love to support you. And you can email Mike, and my website is my email is on the third slide. I'd say second or third slide. So if you need third slide. So if you need to email me with any additional questions, please do, and please spend some time looking at the resources that are embedded in this. And I thank you so much for joining us. Have a great weekend. See you all. Great to see you, Micaiah. First time I've seen you. I don't think you normally come in with your video on, so it's great to see you. All right, thank you all. Have a great week.